rarities. It's that time of week again. It's time for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, and this is episode number 29, the Halloween edition. My name is Deborah, and I live here on my family farm in the foothills of the Arkansas Ozarks, and this is a podcasting about my life. This is a podcast where I talk about my crafting, and I like to do all the crafts. I knit, I crochet, I sew, I quilt, I make baskets, I make jewelry. I also like to make soap, and I'm learning to make candles. I like to do all the crafts, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. I am also a professor of physics and astronomy at a local university where I teach about science literacy. I teach majors classes about modern physics and astronomy and meteorology. And I also volunteer to do planetarium shows and programs that encourage young women to enter the field of STEM. And last but not least, I am a farmer. I am a third-generation family farmer living here on this land that my family has lived on for over a century. I raise grass-fed beef cattle. I raise horses. I have show-quality rabbits. I have heritage poultry. And I am also a retirement home to a herd of miniature donkeys, miniature horses, donkeys, and a miniature mule named Pumpkin who thinks she rules the roost. And if you can tell from my very nosy but sweet little co-host Willie here and his Halloween pinwheel, I am fur kid mom to 14 dogs, 6 indoor cats, and an undetermined number of outside cats, many of which are black, and so I keep a watch out for them this time of year. But they are so afraid of strangers, I doubt that anyone could catch them if they tried. But anyway, so if any or all of that sounds interesting to you, I hope you'll come along with us as we go to episode number 29, the Halloween edition of Diary of a Physicist Farmgal. Okay, if you're looking for us on social media, my farm Facebook page and my YouTube channel are both found under Buckthorn Farms. You've obviously found our YouTube channel, and I hope if you enjoy what you see, you'll give us a like and a subscribe. I'm also found on Ravelry with a group or a forum group for Diary of a Physicist Farmgal, where you can join and find out about our make-alongs or get any giveaways that I might do and just general chit-chat. It's a great place to go for some help. And also, you can find me on Ravelry and on Instagram as Doc Firewoman. I post pictures mostly of farm stuff and animals and some of my crafting projects and occasionally stuff about my work as a university professor. And I want to welcome all y'all back that are returning viewers. We sure are proud that you're here. And I want to welcome new viewers. This is not like any other podcast, but as Aunt Frances said, my darling girl, when are you going to realize it's not that being normal is not necessarily a virtue? It rather denotes a lack of courage. So I don't mind not being normal. In fact, I revel in myself, I guess. So welcome to the podcast. We do have 2 make-alongs currently active. We have the Share the Warmth make-along, and I just received a prize for that today that I will share with you guys in acquisitions from my delightful friend Mary of Mary Knitter, or So Mary Knitter on Instagram, and I believe she goes as Mary Knitter on Ravelry. She was sent a beautiful prize donated. It's very appropriate, and you'll get to see what that is in acquisitions. And also, we have, the Share the Warmth make-along. Sorry, I'm getting distracted because my hay guy is on the way, and I'm kind of keeping an eye out for him. The Share the Warmth make-along is where we are aiming to make things for charity. We are going to make things that either bring literal warmth or maybe more esoterically spiritual warmth or figurative warmth to someone, or critters. Of course, we want to keep our critters warm. So you can make hats, you can make scarves, you can make shawls to give to someone as a gift. Just anything that spreads warmth and kindness as we move into the cold, dark part of the year here in the Northern Hemisphere. That is running through December 31st. So I did decide to change the date on it. Also, we have the I Am Worth It make-along. The I Am Worth It make-along is where we are going to finally use that special something. I'm still looking for my hay guy. That special something that we have been holding aside for ourselves, you know, thinking, oh, this is very precious, this is very special, I don't want to use it, you are not getting that candy, so don't worry about it. There's a piece of candy, there's a candy wrapper over there, and he's fascinated by it. You can't have that, it's chocolate. No, no. Okay, so we're going to finally cast on that special yarn, or cut into that special fabric, or sew that sort of holy grail pattern that we've been waiting to make for ourselves. And this is the perfect time to sort of recharge our engines as we move into the holiday season. The holidays are often very difficult for people, and so, you know, sometimes we need a little extra boost, and so maybe we need to take care of ourselves so that we can continue to take care of everyone and all the other little lives in our care. You're a wiggle worm tonight. You want that? You're not getting that paper. So that is also running through December 31st, and we have some beautiful prizes that have been donated for that, and I have those posted in the thread in the Ravelry group. I need to update it with the new pictures of the new prizes that I got for both this make-along and the Share the Warmth. There are make-alongs going on with friends of mine's podcast, and those include A Crocheting Hoovian and Army Wife Knit Life are running a joint Sensational Stripes podcast that runs through December 31st. So any striped project, it doesn't have to be self-striping, but any fiber craft that generates stripes. So knitting, crocheting, I believe weaving is also accepted. So that's running through the 31st of December, so New Year's Eve. Also, there are several other make-alongs going on over there with the A Crocheting Hoovian. You should go check out her Ravelry group and her podcast, because she has tons of cool make-alongs going on also. A Historian Knits has a pop culture make-along where you have to tie somehow your project, whether it's the yarn or the pattern or something, to something in popular culture, and that runs until December 1st. Then also she has a make-along for one of her 4 sock patterns running until December 31st. So get in on one of those make-alongs by my friends. And I guess now we've done all of our social mediaing and we've done all of our make-alonging, and so now I'm going to put Willie down because he's making me nuts, and we're going to move on to finished objects. Okay, this week I have another block on my Marine Life crocheted blanket. It's a crochet along that's being hosted by Alex from Two Hearts Crochet, and she is kindly providing this pattern for free. It's a great beginner friendly make along to learn how to do corner to corner crochet and to do graphgans. I'm very thankful that I am part of the A Crocheting Hoovian's virtual knit night, because it allows me to ask Laura and some of the other people in there who are much more experienced at making graphgans than I am about how to do this the right way. So this is the block that I completed. You saw it almost finished the last time, and now here it is completed. So here is my octopus. He's all done. Okay, so that is block number, this is block number 6 of that the Two Hearts Crochet Marine Life knit along. Now in my Purple Foxes bag I have my other finished object, and that is it's a Myrtle Kinda Day hat. Okay, it's a Myrtle Kinda Day, which is a pattern by Laura Concert from A Crocheting Hoovian, and I knitted out of some yarn that I dyed in a class when I took a dyeing class at a Twisted Pearl, which is the yarn shop in the town where I work. Okay, I dyed this yarn myself, and I tried to do kind of a rainbow. I don't know if it's not really a speckle, but I don't know what you call it. But anyway, so I dyed that yarn myself, and I crocheted her hat out of it. Now, it's a fingering weight. Oh, I don't have my ends woven in yet. It's a fingering weight hat. And it is adjustable. You can adjust it for no slouch, a little slouch, or a lot of slouch. Okay, and I did minimal slouch. It has a little bit, so I can wear my hair up underneath it if I want to. Okay, so yeah, it turned out really nicely. It's a very easy to follow, easy to memorize pattern. Okay, and it is, good grief. Had a spider. I guess it is Halloween. We had a spider crawl across there, a little tiny spider. Anyway, so it is a very friendly, easy pattern to memorize, and it's a great lightweight hat that I could wear, you know, in the springtime or in the fall, like right now. It's a great time for a hat of this weight because you don't need a lot of warmth, but you need some. I mean, it's been pretty chilly here in the mornings, so I'm glad to have a little bit. I've got to weave my 2 ends in, and then I'll be ready to wear this bad boy. So I'm very excited about that. I have quite a bit of the yarn left, so I don't know if I could get a whole other hat out of it, but I may try, because my department secretary at work, or not my department secretary, the dean's office secretary at work saw my hat and really loved it. So I might try to make her one for a Christmas gift. So anyway, it's a Myrtle Kinda Day Hat by A Crocheting Hoovie, and it's got a really pretty eyelet, yarn over eyelet texture in it. Very, very fun and quick, easy pattern to make up. So I encourage you to check that out on her Ravelry patterns. So that is the only 2 finished objects I have this week, but I have a few works in progress. So we're going to move on now to works in progress. Okay, I have a few works in progress I want to share this week. This is one you have not seen before, but I have mentioned that my neighbors who help me with my cattle and sometimes help me with my equipment are expecting their first grandchild, and the young man who helps me take my cattle and load my cattle when I have to take them somewhere, it's his first child, and it's going to be a little boy. And so I made them the little beard beanie, which you saw last time, but I'm crocheting them a baby blanket. So this, I'm just doing corner to corner crochet, and I'm going to crochet this out until the side is 3 feet, or I run out of yarn, whichever comes first, because I have 2 more skeins of this yarn. So I figure if I turn the corner and start to go back, I should be fine for making it to the end. So it's just a simple corner to corner on the bias. Started down here, and I'm just making it. I haven't measured this. The last time I measured, I was at about 27 inches. So I need to check to see where I'm at now. I'm getting close to 3 feet. Anyway, we'll see. I was just measuring it by holding it up to my nose and holding it out at the length of my arm. So I'm getting close to 3 feet. So I'll measure it when I'm done recording this and see where I'm at, if I'm ready to turn back on it or not. So I'm just knitting this out of some Red Heart baby yarn. I don't even know if you can still get this particular yarn because somebody gave me a vast quantity of yarn. Their grandmother decided she was going to learn to knit and crochet, and as some of us are prone to do, jumped in with both feet and both hands and head first and bought a whole bunch of yarn. I think a crap load would be the right way to describe it. Bought a whole bunch of yarn. Of course, it was all acrylic, but a whole bunch of yarn, and then decided, nah, this is not for me. So they were looking for places to go with it, and I took 4 huge comforter bags of yarn, did not make a dent in what they had. I mean, it was a crazy amount. But anyway, so that is my, and I don't have that in a bag. I'm just carrying that around in my Save the Bees, Save the World tote bag that I carry all my stuff in. I just stick that in there so that anytime I'm riding in a car or that I'm in a meeting or something where I need something to very simple, I have that accessible. Okay, I actually picked my socks back up. These are in my Tesla Knits periodic table bag. And these are the Couch and Cracker socks by Julia of the Happy Knitting Podcast. I'm just knitting them out of some Cloudborn fingering called Josh's Cat. It's very woolly. And I actually got through, I'm actually in the middle of a row. I went today for my mammogram, and if you haven't had one in a while, ladies, you need to go. And also men are susceptible to breast cancer sometimes too, so just because you're not a woman doesn't mean you don't need to pay attention to those things. They caught me in the middle of a row when they called me back. So anyway, I actually have gotten through a pattern repeat on these, and I'm tightening my knitting up quite a bit, so I think these are going to be a much more successful knit. But I have learned something. I have learned that, especially for fingering weight yarn for hats and socks, I probably need to go down at least 1 needle size. In fact, I think I'm going to get me some zeros and start knitting my socks on zeros. And for example, Laura's hats knit on a 2.5. The next time I knit it, I'm going to knit it on a 1.5. Or a 2 at least. To try to tighten it up a little bit. So that's the Couch and Cracker socks. I got those back working on those again. My current block that I'm working on for the Marine Life Crochet Along blanket is Seahorses. I'm almost done with these, and I would say that I would finish it tonight, but I have brought a test home to finish grading. I have a half. When I grade my test, I grade like all of problem 1 on everybody's test, and then all of problem 2, so I'm consistent in how I grade things. Because you don't want to take off 5 points on one person's test for something that you only took 2 points off on another. So I try to make sure I grade all the problems consistently. But I've had this test for almost 2 weeks, and I don't like keeping one that long. We had our Super Science Saturday, which I will talk about on this past Saturday. I'll talk about that when I get to the science stuff. But that took a lot of energy from me last week, and so I didn't get it graded, and I want to get it finished so I can give it back to him tomorrow. So I brought it home with me so I could finish up. I've got half of the last hard problem and then an essay to grade. And yes, I put essays on my physics test. But anyway, so this far I'm using a variegated pink camo yarn and then just a rose pink yarn for the Seahorses. This week's pattern has already come out. It's a dolphin. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make it out of just yet. I may go buy some yarn. Because I want it to be kind of extraordinary yarn for the dolphin, since it is a fairly plain block. I want it to kind of stand out. So I need to go find something that I really, really, really like. Okay. Next, this is the, let's do this one next. Okay, so in my April 9 Designs Alpacas bag, I actually picked up my We Were Seeds shawl by Riza Knits. Riza Knits put out this pattern. It's been out for a little while. It's not a new pattern, and I am knitting it out of the Honeybee Knits Be Positive, which is what was her Tits Out Collective colorway. Very bright and beautiful. And I am I'd actually put a couple rows, or 3 or so rows. You probably can't tell any difference if you're keeping score, but if you're keeping score, then stop doing that. We all work at our own pace, doggone it. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, so I am in the second section, which is the roots section, which is a cabled section that is supposed to typify the roots of a plant, okay? And so I'm in that section now, and I'm about halfway through the first repeat of the chart, and I have to do it 9 times. So I haven't made a lot of progress on this, but I have made some. So I'm proud that I picked it back up. I actually took the advice of the Treehouse Knits podcast, and I got the Tiny Decisions app. And when I kind of am like, well, I don't know what I want to work on, I'll pull out my phone, and I will push the button on Tiny Decisions and let it tell me what to work on. And that's been kind of fun. You know, it kind of has gotten me back working on several things that had kind of laid fallow for a while. Now, this last one is the In the Rough Mystery Knit Along by Michelle Steed. The 4th clue is out, so I don't guess this is really spoiling anyone anymore. But the 4th clue is available. I have this in my April 9 Designs Playful Otters bag. Okay, and she's April 9 Designs on Etsy. And then this is the Stitching Plaza's Needle Cozy. It's the little Day of the Dead kitties. This is the In the Rough Mystery Knit Along. Clue 4 was released, and with an optional extension, which I think I'm going to do because I really like this this blackberry yarn. So let me show you my yarn first. I'm kind of all out of whack today. Sorry, I'm all distracted looking for my friend coming with the hay. So these are the 2 colors that I'm using. I'm using Blackberry by Primrose Yarn Company. And then I'm using Snow Leopard by Expressions Fiber Arts. Okay. So there's the Blackberry a little bit better. Looks like it's got a little bit of cat hair. Big surprise there, right? This is a beaded shawl. The beading only started in the very end of the 3rd clue, and we are continuing on a beaded section at present. So it's kind of hard to see what's going on with it, but maybe you can kind of see the beading there. It's going to make diamond shapes. I've started back on the first diamond. I think there's maybe 2 diamond shapes in this. But anyway, so yeah, so it is, let's see. So front. No, that's the back. No wonder you can't tell what's going on. I'm showing you the wrong side. Yep, someday I'll be a grown-up podcaster. I guess where's my progress keeper? Goodness me. Okay. Anyway, so you can kind of see the pretty textures in the different sections here. So now you can see the beads better. See there? So you can see the different textures. The textures all have that diamond theme to them to mimic the diamond in the rough motif. So, like I said, we are in the last section, and if I want to quit after the 16 rows that are coming up now, that's fine, or I can carry on for an extra 10 rows, and I think I'm going to go on for an extra 10 rows because I really like this blackberry yarn, and I think it's pretty, and I want to use up more of the skein. I don't want to have all that left, so I'm going to go ahead and add the extension portion to it. I haven't worked on that in a couple of days, but I think tonight, if I get done grading my test, I'm going to try to pull that out. I have to work on this, though, at the house because I can't really do beading at work or when I'm driving or whatever. I guess I could do it at work, like in the lab after everybody's done and I'm sitting in waiting for my next group. So we'll see, but I am going to pick it back up. So those are my current works in progress. I have just a little bit, and then I'm going to show you in future crafting. So we'll move on to that. Okay, so in future crafting, I am going to show you this until I actually start it again to keep myself honest. This is in my Magpie Knits Happy Halloween bag. This is the Boo Knits Halloween shawl this year, and it is the Gothic Angel Mystery Knit Along. And now the picture is out, so we know what it looks like. Okay, and it has 800 and something beads on it. Remember, this is the one that I got mad at and threw away. It is a lace weight shawl, and I'm knitting it out of West Texas Sunset by Kim Marie Knit Knacks, and then I'm going to use these gold beads on it. So I think that will be really pretty. I just have to get started back on it. And there's been a couple of days when I've kind of had the hankering to start on it again, and then I've walked away from it, and then I thought, oh, I want to start it again, and then I've walked away from it. So I think right now I want to get the baby blanket done, you know, because their baby is coming in January or December. December. And I also need the battery cable ends changed on my tractor. So I'm like, I brought you a present. Could you come change my battery cable ends? So we'll see. I'm sure they would do that even if I just asked them. They would not mind coming and doing that. I also have their live trap to give back to them, which we'll talk about in Farm Life. I was gifted very kindly this pattern for the Sarah. Oh, I thought it was the Jennifer. I'm wrong. The Sarah cabled sweater by Laura of A Crocheting Hoovie, and she is such a sweet person to be so generous to give me that. She knew I wanted to make a cabled sweater, and she said, "Ooh, I like this one. I think this one would suit you." So I think instead of going back and knitting my Scotland pattern, I think I'm going to start with this because it's kind of like a hoodie. It's not exactly a hoodie, but it's kind of like a hoodie, and I do love a hoodie. So it's a beautiful pattern by Jen Hagen, and she's Figheed Crafts. Okay, and this is available on Ravelry, so I encourage you to check that out. And what I like about it, it's both charted and has written instructions, which is good because I sometimes forget what I'm doing when I read a chart, which I think happens to a lot of people. So, yes. And then I also talked with Vanessa from the A Historian Knits podcast. She and I have become quite good friends, and she was telling me a little about her trip to Rhinebeck. And I was very envious, and I was also very, very envious of Laura's good time at Rhinebeck. She kind of kept us all updated through the virtual knit group, which was kind of cool to kind of be there, you know. But I have decided that for my entry into the pop culture make-along, I'm going to use the beautiful gift of the cat pink yarn. Sounds like my hey guys here, so I'm going to finish this up real quick. The cat pink yarn from Miss Mary, and I'm going to make the She Rises hat and enter that in the make-along. So that's all of the yarny goodness. I do have some acquisitions that I'll show after I go out and check on with my hay guy. And if that's all you're interested in, I'll catch y'all again. And otherwise, I will be back in just a little bit with some acquisitions. Okay, well, my friends are outside unloading my hay, and I'm going to go put a bale of hay out for my cows when they're done. But I think I have time to talk about my acquisitions. So I have a couple of acquisitions to show you. First of all, I bought 2 more bags from Agatha from A Magpie Knits. She had put up some more Halloween bags. I got this beautiful Sugar Skulls one, and these are her smaller bags. They're more like a sock sack. That would be easy to put down in your purse or something, because they're not as heavily interfaced. They're lined, but they're not heavily interfaced, so they're easy to squash up and put down in a purse or a book bag. So I got the really cute Sugar Skulls, and then I also got this sort of symbols of the occult or Ouija board or whatever you want to say, Halloween. It's got some Halloween symbols and stuff on it because I love Halloween, if you couldn't tell. So, and of course it's got that lining that I love so much. I still think that glows in the dark, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I have a headlamp that I use when I go out and feed. And last night I put my big decorations up out in the yard finally for Halloween, and I walked by the den and I saw this red glow behind my big floppy garden hat. I'm like, is that a reflection? What is that? And I went over, and my headlamp, I have a headlamp that it's got red, then it's got green, and it's got white, and it's got a flashing red light on it. The red is just for night vision. The green is a blood lamp, so if you do hunt and you need to track blood after dark, you can use it for that. The white obviously is just like a flashlight, and then the flashing red ones, I don't know what they're for other than to go, here I am, I don't know. But anyway, it was on, and I'm like, what is going on? So I had my friend Mr. Allen at work look at it, and he figured out that there must be something wrong with the little processor that's in there. Because if you flip it up, it'll turn off most of the time, but if you move it, I think there's a crack in the little board that's in there. But anyway, it was glowing, and I was like, whoa, spooky Halloween, what's going on? But I think these stars glow in the dark, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I think at least one of these is probably going to be a gift or a prize, but I just thought they were really cute, and I wanted to pick up a couple more bags, because you never have too many project bags, right? Then also, it was the Not Going to Rhinebeck or whatever festival. There were several makers that participated in that, and one of them was Ninja Chickens. And I purchased a few things from her. First of all, let me reach up here and get it. I already put it on my little pen holder, but I purchased her pen, which is right there. I purchased her Ninja Chickens enamel pen, which I thought was really cute. It's a little hen sitting on a nest of yarn balls. And then she had written a children's book, which I'm a sucker for a good children's book, based on a story that one of her kids told her. So she wrote this book, and she was very sweet. She wrote a little sentiment in it for me, which I thought was really sweet. And then I had been wanting to try one of her eco-printed things, and she had eco-printed some sock blanks. So I ordered this sock blank from her, and it's even more beautiful in person than it was online. And I think I'm going to make a shawl out of this. I think the colors would make a really pretty autumnal shawl. It is the fabric is dyed with avocado. The overall background is avocado. And then the eco printing is heuchera, hibiscus, eucalyptus, goldenrod, and butterfly pea flower, maybe. Anyway, I've been wanting to try one of her she still has some in her Etsy shop, so if you're interested in these sort of naturally dyed or eco-printed things, go check those out, because she still has a lot of beautiful things in her Etsy shop. And if she still has some after East Texas, I might pick up another one. But anyway, so that was the things that I got from her for the Not Going to Rhinebeck festival, because I did not go to Rhinebeck because it's a little too far away for me to go during the middle of the school semester, unfortunately. Then I got we'll get to the gifts in just a second. You saw my gift from Laura, my gift pattern. But Miss Betsy and I, was looking for an antique baby buggy. She's expecting her 4th grandchild from her daughter. Well, it's her 6th grandchild, but her daughter Rachel's 4th child. It's a little girl. And they were looking for a baby buggy because Rachel is like the super Pinterest queen and loves to do these pictures, and she was wanting an antique baby buggy. And Miss Betsy has several, but one of them was too big to get in her car, and then one of them the top wasn't going down on, and she was worried about transporting it. And one of them was damaged. So we went up to a couple of flea markets to look, and we didn't really find one, but we came upon a new flea market that had an estate sale in it, and the estate sale was 75% off everything in the estate sale. So I found these books. There was a Crochet and Knit Toys magazine, which was 25 cents. This was 25 cents. And then I found these 2 books, Knitted Toy Tales and Creatures, knitted little creatures. Okay, and these were each $1 a piece. And these are Leisure Arts books. I didn't look up the date of publication on these, but yeah, let's see if I can quickly find it. ISBN. 2010. 2010 was this one, and then this one I don't know what it was. But at any rate, I thought there was some really cute little crocheted creatures in here, or these are actually all knitted, and that's something that I haven't tried to do yet, but like, oh, I love him. We're actually, Laura and Agatha and I from the Virtual Knit Night group are going to actually try to knit the Voodoo You Love Me, or Voodoo You Love doll. She actually gifted us that pattern. There's a little bee. And we're going to try to all knit that together here pretty soon. I think after East Texas, I begged for them to please wait. So, but there's some really cute little patterns in here. There's a little acorn and a little gnome and all that. So I'm going to try to knit some creatures, because why not? Remember, next year we're going to do a joint make-along called Creature Feature, and so this would be perfect for that. And at $1 a piece, how could you pass those up? And actually, I picked up a couple of the ladies' knitted toys too that were there for 25 cents a piece. I couldn't bear to leave them behind, but anyway, now I received some very dear, precious gifts and some giveaway items from Miss Mary. So Mary Knitter. The first one is actually one that I'm going to talk more about in the science segment because it has some good points. But she sent me an article about Margaret Wertheim and Christine Wertheim. They're sisters. I believe they're twin sisters, and they are both scientists, and they are doing the Knitted Coral Reef project. It's been around for a little while, but what they're trying to do is get people interested and invested in the health of our coral reefs, which are suffering for a variety of reasons. The oceans are becoming more acidic, the oceans are becoming warmer, you know, and the corals are dying as a result of that, which is bad. Because when you do, well, we'll talk more about it. I don't want to get into it right now, but she also sent me this book, A Field Guide to Hyperbolic Space. And if you read the full title, A Field Guide of Hyperbolic Space, an exploration of the intersection of higher geometry and feminine handicraft. And what I love about it is it shows how to make the different coral shapes. It describes in physics and in geometry what the shape really is, but then it tells how to make each one. Okay, so turns out that the universe might be hyperbolic, which would be cool. And there's a pseudosphere. Isn't that cool? And we've all accidentally made those things, but did you know they were actually things? They were hyperbolic coral shapes. And it talks about how corals mimic this shape, and then it talks about geodesics. So you're like, what's a geodesic? Well, a soccer ball. So we know about these things, whether you realize it or not. She was kind enough to send me this book with a very sweet note. And what I love, and she also put in there, if anyone asks you why you're crocheting in class, you can say you're making visual aids. Yes. So I'm going to talk more about the article when we get to the science segment. Well, then today I got home. As I said, I went to go get my mammogram. So this was a perfectly timed present. And she sent it. She said I could do whatever I would like to in it. But she sent enclosed yarn for knitted knockers. Okay. Share the warmth. And Stitches SoCal is having a big push to produce as many as possible, and it doesn't get much warmer than next to the heart. I love that sentiment. As always, use it, keep it, give it away. Included are the knit and the crochet patterns. So she sent skeins of yarn, and she said this is very soft, and it's a good yarn to make them out of. And then she sent copies of the knitted knockers, crochet, and knit patterns. So what I'm going to do is I am going to include these as prizes, and they have sent, and what I like about this is she has given me the approved list of yarns. So I'm going to keep this, and it talks about like the yarns, why they chose the yarns that they did, and I'll just briefly read this. It says, for the wearer, it is crucial that the knocker fiber not exacerbate a highly sensitive part of a woman's body that may have already suffered from surgical scarring, nerve damage, and possible radiation burns, because that is a potential side effect of radiation treatment. To minimize the chances of this happening, we ask that knitters and crocheters choose a yarn that we've already tested and know that every knocker created will be gratefully received and loved by the wearer. We receive constant affirmation that these ladies truly appreciate the time and talent that a caring volunteer took to make these. And then there's a link for the testimonial, so I will include that. And it's like they give examples of yarn that may be unsuitable, but then they give a whole list of yarns that are good for making these. And there's several that are very easily gotten, like Cascade and Knit Picks, Patons or Patons. And it says if you go through Craftsy and to purchase your yarn, if you purchase a yarn through Craftsy, they will give a little extra to knitted knockers at no extra cost to the purchaser. So there we go. Okay. And you can send them stuffed or unstuffed, whichever one you prefer. So I think that is a perfect prize for the Share the Warmth make-along. So I'm going to split this up. I'm going to do a knitted prize and a crocheted prize. And I will couple those with some project bags and some other little extras, and that will go into our prizes. So what I will do is when I draw for the prizes, I will ask the first person I draw if they would rather have knit or crochet, and then the second person can take the other one. So yeah, so those are my acquisitions. I think I am so touched that she thought to send those, because I was having a conversation with someone about giving back to community, and she really embodies to me that spirit of giving and kindness. And in this season when we're thinking about those things maybe a little bit more, whether it's because the holidays approaching or the state of the world or the things that are happening in the world right now, for love to triumph over evil, for good to triumph over evil, we have to keep doing little things. It's little things like this. Little drops of rain is what fill the oceans. Okay, so we're going to keep making little drops of rain. Okay, so that's all of my acquisitions. So now we're going to move on and talk about some science. Okay, so what's going on on campus and with science this week in my world? We had, as I mentioned, our Super Science Saturday was this past Saturday, which was where we did the day camp for the kids from Community Connections. I was a little worried, like I always am, because this semester I only had 7 students. I had a little bit of a smaller class participating. And I was worried about making sure we had enough volunteers. As always, had plenty of volunteers show up, and even my good friend Carol, and you're going to hear the tractor revving up because the guy's here with the hay finally. My good friend Carol came all the way from Lamar, which I really, really was grateful that she did that. And some of my former students came back and helped, and my two new young women who do research with me also came. So we had lots of good volunteers. The kids had a great time. Lots of positive feedback. So I'm really, you know, I worry about that up until it starts, and then I'm like, okay, everything's fine. And this is probably one of the best ones in terms of organization and participation that we've had. I was just a little disappointed though, because they had several no-shows, and you know, it's that time of year, kids get sick, and they had a soccer event rescheduled the night before, and I think some of the kids went to do the soccer stuff and just kind of were not able to get out again because it was very cold the night before and stuff. But it went really, really well. We're working down toward the end of the semester. I have, we had our STEM career fair. I went and did some recruiting last week at Pulaski Technical College. We do a transfer days with them, and I got to visit with the new computer science chair and also the sociology, social work, and anthropology chair. And I'm actually going to have one of the anthropologists come and talk to my class about how he uses physics in his studies. So I think that'll be kind of a neat alternative to just thinking about the traditional physics careers. Miss Nancy is moving on her way. The moving truck came today, and she is headed to Tuscaloosa. We are going to miss her a whole lot. I put a few pictures up on Instagram of her going away potluck that we had. We're going to miss her a whole lot because she really took care of all of us, but I'm proud that she's getting to move home. I'm trying to think what else happened in the last couple of weeks. We went and worked with the kids at Adkins one day, and we are working on our journals. We submitted a grant proposal to the Library of Congress. A co-worker of mine and I did, to try to develop a new teacher workshop. So there's been a lot of things like that going on. Classes are going smoothly. You know, I'm trying some different labs. I'm trying out some online stuff, because sometimes, especially in modern physics, labs can kind of be a black box. You know, this weird cool stuff happens, but you don't really see what's happening. And there are some online simulations that actually kind of crack that fourth wall of that mystery that's going on there. And I think that that's important for my students to be able to see what's going on. So, and this is one case where I think the online labs are actually more informative than doing the actual hands-on lab, because you can actually see the innards of what's going on, and that's important. So yeah, that's kind of, you know, what's been going on with that. The reason I wanted to save Miss Mary's article was there was some really good stuff in here about science literacy, and as I was reading it, I circled some things that I want to share with you, and then I'm ultimately going to share it with my classes. Now, the whole point of doing the Coral Reef Project, why Margaret and Christine Wertheim started doing the Coral Reef Project, is sometimes you can get listener fatigue. You can get listener fatigue if you keep banging the drum about climate change and the corals are dying and stuff. Eventually people, if it doesn't really affect their day-to-day lives, a lot of times they get kind of deaf. They're like, I don't need to worry about that. It doesn't affect me directly. When they don't realize that really it does affect you. You may not see the repercussions of it right away, but it will affect you at some point, and it is going to hit you in your pocketbook at some point, because, you know, if things start heating up and changing, the way we grow our food is going to have to fundamentally change, and that does hit us in our pocketbooks. You know, Arkansas is known for its duck hunting, and ducks like it to be cold, and if where the freezing line changes, that's going to change where the ducks go, and that could really hit this state economically, because, you know, we bring in a lot of money in this state from out-of-state people coming and duck hunting here. So, you know, these things do matter. They may not impact your life immediately, but they do matter, but sometimes it's very hard to get buy-in on that if people don't see the immediate impact. So one of the things that she talks about, the reason that she decided to do the Coral Reef Project, because she does have a background in physics, math, and science communication. she said, you know, if people can participate and contribute to this movable, contribute to this movable work of art, maybe then they'll have more buy-in to the problem of the coral reefs. Okay, so there was a couple of passages that I thought were particularly important. Now, I'll just show you a couple of the illustrations. So for example, one of the photographs in the article shows this is a lettuce sea slug, and then this is kale. Okay, but those are all hyperbolic planes. Those are both hyperbolic planes. So when you crochet a hyperbolic plane, that's the same structure as that sea slug and the kale, which I think is cool. There were a lot of workshops that were going around that were part of the Crocheted Coral Reef project. And Willie, we're not going to get up there, buddy. I'm sorry, you're not getting that. And so this was going on, I know, through last year, and there were a lot of campuses that adopted sort of an auxiliary coral reef site. And as of the middle of last year, over 8,000 people had participated in this project. Now, what I thought was interesting was the comments that people made about science literacy. So there is a coral researcher at the USGS, the U.S. Geological Survey. His name is Kurt Storlazzi, and he was talking about the coral reefs, and he said, understanding the health and perils facing coral reefs around the world is a perfect example of why science communication in its many forms is so crucial. So being able to talk to your audience. And so here's what I thought was interesting, and this is the thing that I try to convey to my students. We're the federal government, and we're here to serve the American people to provide science to save lives and dollars, says Storlazzi. Although he knows that people need to understand what scientists do and how their research affects their everyday life, time and resources can be limited for outreach and science communication. We spend all of our time writing technical reports and communicating our science to other scientists. But he knows that there are huge ranges of audiences for science, but without good communication, that kind of falls apart. So Margaret Wertheim actually, I like her because, as she puts it, she likes to write outside the box. She has written scientific columns for women's magazines, including Australian Vogue and Elle, and she talks to a variety of audiences. And she said, and she actually says, she doesn't believe that there is this as much of a negative anti-science sentiment as a lot of us fear that there are, but she believes that we need to be able to communicate to people who do have an interest. So we need to be able to meet them where they are, basically. She said, I think there are huge amounts of people who want to engage in science and are hungering to engage. They've just not been offered ways that are interesting, appealing, and accessible to them. And that right there, that is the kernel that I want to take away from that, is maybe that it's not as much of a backlash as like I fear that there is, or a lot of people in my profession fear that there is, but maybe we just need to be able to meet people where they are. And I fully accept the fact that we have fallen down on that job and we need to do a better job. So I'm going to take this article actually to my class and share it with them, because I think that this is really important. Plus, I think that several of them would enjoy reading about this book that she kindly gifted to me. So that's all the science stuff I have to talk about this week. So now we're going to move on, as we are being serenaded in the background by the tractor, and talk about farm life. Okay, so here on the farm, there's a few things that are going on. Well, the coons are back. Not the same one, but I had another coon attack. Saturday when I got home from the science camp, I found a massacre, a chicken massacre, and I could tell this time it was more than one coon that had to be responsible because it was too many to be gone in one night. So I set the live trap again and went out Sunday and had what I would call a young adult coon. I'm like, okay, so I took him up the road, or her up the road a ways, and let her go. And then I thought, there's more than one, there's got to be. So I set the live trap again, and this morning when I went out on my way to work, I had a big one in there. Probably the mom. I'm suspecting it was the mom. So she had to wait till I got home before I went to my mammogram, and I went and let her go. And of course, my silly hippy dippy self, and I say that with love because I am proud to be a hippy dippy snowflake. I'm proud of that. But I took her to the same place where I released the youngster, and I thought, well, maybe they'll find each other again. Just don't come back here. So I reset the live trap. It is my neighbor's live trap, and I bought myself one today. I went ahead and bought myself one, but I'm gonna go ahead and use theirs one more time. And those coons are clever little suckers. Now, they had both taken the handle off that first live trap and had it down in the side, and you know, I had them riding in the back of my truck, and they would grab things and pull in there with them. They're very nosy little creatures, and they're cute, but they do kill chickens. So I've got Captain, my one-legged rooster. He was the one that got mauled in the first coon attack, and he ended up losing his leg. But it seems to have healed up. He's one-legged now, so he's got his own. I've got him up in one of the extra rabbit cages right now, and I'm going to kind of nurse him back, put some weight back on him, and then I'm going to make him a little, his own little enclosure area. I've got a hen right now that's not feeling very perky. I've got her up, and I gave her a little bit of medicine. I'm going to go out there in a little while and check on her, maybe give her some electrolytes or some little extra something, try to boost her up a little bit. She's just not looking very good. I canned some peppers. I went over and picked over the last of my garden and picked all the last of my hot peppers. So I've canned some hot peppers here. Tried to make pepper sauce for the first time, so we'll see how it turns out. And then I have a friend at work that's from Trinidad, and she loves habaneros, so that will go to her. Got about 4 pints of hot peppers canned up. Had a dressage lesson this Friday. Honestly, I've kind of been fighting my depression pretty hard, and I haven't wanted. I went to the barn on Wednesday. I took the day off work Wednesday because, well, just for various reasons. There was sort of a pretty tense argument on Tuesday night with some people about some things that were going on in the world, and one person got very angry and spoke up, and it just kind of unsettled me. And then I also, Mr. Bill, Miss Marianne's brother, has been in the hospital, and we don't exactly know what's wrong with him. He's got myelitis, which is a form of blood cancer, we believe, but he's also acting like he possibly has had a mild stroke. And I knew she was exhausting herself, and so I felt like I needed to go see him. And I wanted to go vote. I wanted to go early vote. Early voting started here last Monday, and I wanted to go vote. So I'm ahead in one of my classes, and the other class could actually work board problems on their own. So I emailed everybody the night before, and I said, look, I need to take care of some stuff. And so I didn't go into work on Wednesday. And I went over and saw my horses, and there were people at the barn, and I hate to say this, but I snuck around the back of the barn because I just wanted to be with my horses. I just wanted to sit out there and pet them and smell them and love them, and that was good. And then Friday I went to my lesson, and we had a really, really good lesson. I'm a little sore, but we're working on lengthening my leg, especially on my right side, because my right side has always been my weaker side, and that's the side I have sciatica issues on. And it's also the side where I pulled my Achilles tendon earlier this summer, running through the sand, chasing a pony, trying to make her That was an interesting visual, I'm sure. But anyway, so I'm doing some stretches to try to lengthen that muscle back out. The left leg actually looks really good, and I actually got a really good picture of me riding on the left side. That's probably the best seat I've had in a long time. So we rode Bo some. Eleanor got some really nice canter on him last Thursday. She got a really nice couple of canters, one going each, a couple going each way without any fight, without any fuss. So he's starting to figure out what it is we want from him, and that's really good. As I said, the hay guys are here. That definitely is the cycle of the year coming into play here, where we're starting to have to feed hay. I'm going to actually put my first bale of hay out for the cows here in just a few minutes. They probably don't really need it, but they think they do, so I'm going to go ahead and put them a bale of hay out. And then I'm going to start putting tarps and stuff over the rabbit cages and putting them nest boxes in there to kind of hunker down in when it gets cold, and shore up the chickens' pen so that they have some warm places to get to. If I can get Jacob to come, I think what I'm going to do actually is I've got a double stall on the end that we've never finished, so I'm going to go ahead and finish that one, and I'm going to leave where that wire was messed up by the coons. I'm going to cut that out and have a triple stall for the bigger chickens, and then have that one single stall for when I'm putting babies in there that are not quite big enough to go out with the big chickens yet. Turkeys are doing great. The Jake is growing into himself, and he actually started trying to gobble the other day, which was kind of funny. It reminded me of Clyde, so that was cool. The cattle are doing well. I went over and checked on all of them and put them some warmer blocks out, and they seem to be doing well. They still have grass, although it's starting to get a little bit short, so I'm going to go ahead and put them a bale of hay out as well. But yeah, we're just kind of moving into fall winter mode here, and that's all you can do. Make sure everybody has plenty of warmth and plenty of fresh water, and just take care of them and get them through the winter time like we do every winter. Winter is to me the hardest season, because there's just so many things that you have to worry about, with ponds freezing or ice freezing, or the mud freezing on them, or they get too cold because they got wet, and so forth and so on. But they make it. They do fine. The cattle get down in the woods and the cedar thickets and stay actually incredibly dry, and the horses will get in the cedars, and you can go stand in the middle of them, and it's a good 25 degrees warmer in the middle of a herd of horses than it is in the ambient air temperature. It's kind of amazing. I need to doctor the bees for varroa mites. That's the last thing I kind of need to do. I decided I wasn't going to harvest my honey until spring. I want to make sure they've got enough honey to get through the winter, because I just have this feeling it's going to be a rougher winter than we've had in a while. We haven't really had a really rough winter since about 2013, so we're due. We're due for one. So I kind of am just going to let them keep their honey until springtime, and then after the dearth is over in the spring, I'll harvest what honey's in there so that they'll have room to start bringing more in. Yeah, so that's kind of what's going on the farm. So I'm going to finish up there, and now I'm going to move on and share some final thoughts. Okay, in today's final thoughts, we're approaching the season of All Hallows Eve or Samhain or whatever you want to call it, and a time when we venerate our ancestors. And I talked a little bit about that last week. And then this has been brought into stark relief with the events in the last few days at the Tree of Life Synagogue, where these elderly people, simply looking for a place of sanctuary and safety to worship, were murdered. Whatever you may think about the events of that day, I feel like what happened to them was a crime of hate. And we've talked in the past about the hating the other and being fearful of the other. And I was talking with my friend Amy a little bit yesterday, and we were talking about some of the white supremacist activity. And she said, I try to remember that these people are operating out of a hate that's born of fear. And I agree with that. But we live in scary times. And I was thinking about Mr. Rogers and how you should look for the helpers. You know, when scary things happen, you should look for the helpers. I wanted to read a couple of things that were on my mind as a result of this. The first one is a piece by, I believe her name is Danya. Let me see if I can find her name here. Excuse me just a moment. Danya Ruttenberg, and she is a rabbi in residence at Avoda. I may be saying that wrong. But at the end of an article that she wrote for the Washington Post, she said something really beautiful. And what it says is, in Judaism, when someone dies, we often say, may their memory be a blessing. This time, it is all of our obligations to make it so. We must mourn and lament and grieve for the lives stolen from this world. We must rage at the baseless hatred and the reckless lack of protections that made these senseless killings possible in the first place. And we must honor the memories of those who were murdered by fighting for a world that values every life, refugee and citizen of every race and religion, and that creates cultures and policies that reflect those values. Yes, I agree with that. I was talking with a former student of mine who now works for us named Jeremy, and he has a quote on his board about, and it's by a Japanese writer called Haruk Murakami, and it says, if there is a hard, high wall and an egg breaks against it, no matter how right the wall or how wrong the egg, I will stand on the side of the egg. Why? Because each of us is an egg, a unique soul enclosed in a fragile egg. Each of us is confronting a high wall. The high wall is the system which forces us to do the things we would not ordinarily see fit to do as individuals. We are all human beings, individuals, fragile eggs. We have no hope against the wall. It's too high, too dark, too cold. To fight the wall, we must join our souls together for warmth and strength. We must not let the system control us, create who we are. It is we who create the system, or created the system. And that is from an acceptance speech that he made in 2009 for the Jerusalem Prize, and he was talking about the situation in the Middle East. But I guess what I try to remember is we're all the same. I mean, there is no difference when we turn out the light, as Shel Silverstein said. So we are all connected. We are all fragile eggs trying to fight against this dark, cold, high wall, this figurative wall. And the only way we can survive is to join together and to unite as human beings. We are all human beings. And Amy said to me, because I was really down when I was talking to her, and she said, remember, there is more good than there is evil. And good people just have to keep doing good and loving things. And good will win. Like the Battle of Hogwarts. Oh, so let's just keep doing good, y'all. Let's just keep doing good, okay? So I hope y'all are meeting your crafting goals, and we're going to keep doing some little bits of good here and there wherever we can. So until I see y'all again, y'all be good to each other and take care of each other. You going to tell them, Willie? Or are you still interested in that candy paper? Huh? You going to tell them? You going to tell them? No, you want that candy paper. I'm sorry, you can't have the candy paper. Tell them, Willie. Peace out, y'all. Bye.